Hey guys, what's up? It's JR Cuber, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing the MoYu WeiLong GTS3M, which I know is long overdue. But how long has it actually been since I posted the unboxing? Ooh, that is longer than I was thinking. I'm really resisting the urge to make puns about how long it's taken for me to make this review, and I'm sure some of you guys are wondering why I'm still even bothering to do it. And the reason is basically just that I still want to talk about this cube even though it's been out for a while. Plus, I never actually reviewed the GTS2, so I didn't want to miss another GTS cube as well. Now, I know I said I'd be doing a Tengyun review as well, but honestly, after doing my review segment for the Cubicles review of the Tengyun, I just felt like a full review on my channel would just be repetitive, honestly, since I basically already went over all of my thoughts on the Tengyun in that video. So if you guys want to know my thoughts on the Dian Tengyun, I will go ahead and leave a link to the Cubicles review of it. I'll put a link in the cards right there and also in the description. But anyways, let's go ahead and get on to the GTS3. So the exact GTS3 that I'll be reviewing is from Cubicle Custom, which costs $46, while a stock magnetic version is $35. This is a 56mm puzzle, but the ridges make it feel a little bit bigger, even though the pieces themselves are a little bit smaller than what a 56mm puzzle would be, if you were to remove the ridges. To my knowledge, this is the first mass-produced 3x3 with ridges, but I definitely could be wrong about that. I think it's definitely the first modern speed cube to have them. The idea is that the ridges should allow for an easier grip on the puzzle, making it harder to accidentally flip out of your hands or anything like that. I actually really don't mind them that much, although some people definitely do, and I think the new WeiLong WRM is kind of supposed to be a solution to that, but I'll talk about that in another video. I think the ridges do actually help me a little bit with grip, but it could just be a placebo, so I'm not entirely sure. And honestly, I've just grown accustomed to it at this point, so I really don't mind them. The other main feature this cube has is the way that you can adjust the spring tension. So unlike the GAN cubes where you have to switch the GES nut for a different spring tension, the GTS3 uses a notched system in the centers to tighten or loosen the spring tension independently of the screw. And each cube comes with a little tool that you need in order to do this, so make sure you don't lose this. With this cube, you get 8 spring brackets that you can choose from, and unlike the GES nuts, they're basically all usable on the GTS3. I have mine set right around the middle tension, so a 4 on the 0 to 8 scale, but making the cube as loose or as tight as possible with the spring tension doesn't really drastically change the performance, which I think is super awesome. This feature is really amazing for basically just making fine-tune adjustments to how blocky you want the cube to feel or how loose you want it to feel or something like that. This is something that I wish all cubes had at this point because I think it's an easier system to work with than the GES system. So now on to turning and performance. The GTS3 overall has a very crunchy and bumpy feeling to me. It's got quite a rough feeling compared to how silky smooth a lot of cubes are now, and it's even pretty rough compared to the GTS2. It definitely feels more akin to an older MoYu puzzle like the original WeiLong or something like the HuaLong, which I really like. The layers also feel much heavier to me than a lot of modern cubes, and I've always been one that likes heavier feeling turns, so it really works for me. It actually really reminds me of the OG WeiLong V2 as well, which is probably why I like the feel so much. I don't know if you guys remember when I mained an WeiLong V2 for like 3 years, but I'm glad those days are over. As for speed, it's really nothing too special, but still plenty fast. It totally gets the job done. I really don't think I would want it to be any faster or slower at the moment. I think any faster, it would just be too uncontrollable. It's at a really good speed right now. Locking is also generally not much of a problem as well. Since the cube simply just has adequate speed and fluidity, locking doesn't really seem to occur that much. I find that I actually lock more on faster cubes like the 356X, so I actually really don't mind the adequacy of the cube in those respects. Corner cutting is basically just fine as well. The magnet strength is also right where it should be. It's not too strong, it's not too weak either. Basically, this cube just hits the mark exactly where it should in so many aspects. Even though it feels like there's nothing that this cube does better than any other cube on the market, but it's just so good and average at everything that it actually kind of all combines together to be a pretty great cube. This is probably the most jack of all trades cube I have ever come across, as it's a cube that just feels really reliable. I used it to compete in my last competition this past weekend, but only for the last round, which in hindsight I actually felt like was a mistake. I wish I had used this cube for all 3 rounds. The 356X, which I'm still technically calling my main, is fantastic and I love it, but it's just not the most reliable cube for me in competition. Since it's so fast, it tends to lock up a lot more when I'm not being that fluid with my turns, which I really never am during a competition anyway. The GTS3 on the other hand can absolutely put up with my horrendous competition turning, and it does just fine. I actually ended up doing way better in the finals with the GTS3 than I did with the 356X in the previous rounds. And that's a really good example of why I really don't like calling just one cube my definitive main, because I use several cubes all the time depending on how I'm feeling that day. But the GTS3 has been one that's been really consistent for me for the past few months. It's also really good for just spam turning in solves at home as well, which you guys can see in this ridiculous 7 that I got on camera. And considering its price point at $35 for the base magnetic version, which really isn't all that ridiculous anymore, let's be real, this is a definite recommend from me. This is one of the most reliable cubes I've used lately. I know it's been out for a pretty long time at this point, but if you guys still haven't given the GTS3 a shot, I'd say definitely go for it. I'm also really excited to check out the WeiLong WRM because from what I've heard, it's really similar to this cube, but just without the ridges. So that'll be interesting to check out as well. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the MoYu WeiLong GTS3M. Thanks of course to the Cubicle for sending me this cube for free. If you guys like this video, make sure to hit that like button, turn notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.